I gotta turn the volume off real quick.
What volume?
The game volume.
I really wish ban would let you add everybody at one time. Like,
Yeah.
Did. Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Alright. Welcome back, Live Squad, to another Combo League podcast. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm your host, Avengers. Alongside us is our host, Lima.
What's up, guys? Great to be back for another Combo League podcast. We're coming at you with the Week 6 recap and the Week 7 preview.
Of course, as y'all know, as I say this every time, and some of y'all have been doing these videos have been doing really well. We've grown in subscribers in the past month, just 1 month, guys. And we've grown exponentially, and we love that. We thank y'all so much. But of course, if you're new or a returner and you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. You know when we go live or a video is posted. Hit that like button. Show your support by hitting that blue like button. But of course, first game is Tampa Bay versus New Orleans, and actually a very close game, only 6-point game. And it's a surprise to see, is it not? With Blake Deshaun kind of being one of the top users in this league, and only being a 6-point game.
Yeah, it's a little surprising, but they do kind of know each other pretty well. They're friends in real life, so there was probably a little bit of being nice here, or maybe there was maybe they're actually learning each other pretty well, and maybe Saints is getting better.
Or maybe it was the 73 penalty yards that Blake Deshaun had. But of course, we all look at these stats. Blake Deshaun winning in every aspect except for turnovers, more yards, more first downs, more punt return yards, and kick return yards. Just completely ruling this game. And of course, player stats. Wow. Not ruling in the passing game though.
Yeah,
Blaine Gabbert actually 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times, and Kirk Burris, rookie out of Florida State, 165 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 3 times. That is a wild game for that quarterback.
Yeah, not the best game at all.
Blaine Gabbert actually not having a bad game, especially being a lower overall quarterback. In the rushing game, what do we got going on in that rushing game?
Oh, this is where it gets a little better. You see for the Bucks, 19 attempts, 149 yards, and a touchdown with the rookie Devin Stroder out of Miami. And then leading the Saints was Alvin Kamara, 15 attempts, 77 yards, and a touchdown. So decent, pretty good run game for the Bucks there. Decent for the Saints, good average, 5.1. Yeah. So, but I don't know if you guys saw or not, but it did show that he scored 12 points in the fourth quarter, and the Bucks didn't score any. So maybe he wasn't able to run the ball because he was in comeback mode. But yeah, if he was able to get the run going from the beginning, it might have helped him a little more.
In the receiving game, though, of course, leading receiver was Mike Evans for Tampa Bay with 5 receptions, 73 yards. And for New Orleans, it was Alvin Kamara being a dual back, 4 receptions, 38 yards.
Yeah, you see a lot of dual backs nowadays in Combo League, especially. It's really great to have them.
Look at run after catch was 54.
Yeah, he probably
That's
caught him in the backfield and then maybe a couple
oh,
screens or something.
okay.
Alright, so going over to
Wow.
defense now, let's check out these sacks. You see Noah Spence and Bradley Schultz were the leaders from their two teams, each with 1.5 sack, and then Chris Baker also had 1.5 from the Bucks.
Interceptions, though, of course, we see 5 interceptions altogether. Todd Davis, Monte Teo, and Stephon Stokes, rookie out of Oklahoma State, all having one, and J.J. Wilcox and Terry Riley Jr. for the Bucks having one.
And let's check out if there were any forced fumbles. No, there were not.
Touchdowns, there is one.
There was one by J.J. Wilcox. I don't think there were any safeties or blocks. But yeah, that probably. So maybe if this actually could have been a very winnable game for the Saints, maybe you take away that pick 6 by J.J. Wilcox, start the run game a little earlier.
Yeah. You know, take away that pick 6. That's 7 points away, giving.
Yeah.
Actually, making it where the Saints would have won by 1 point.
Yeah, as he did lose by 6. So. But good job to Bucks. Good job to the Saints actually too for making it close. Good luck to both of you guys. Remainder of the season. Hopefully everything goes well.
Oh yeah. And of course, guys, if y'all are new, I've said this many times. Chat with us. Come in here, chat. Just say what you want to say. And we will talk to y'all while doing this too. Now, second game was our game of the week, and it was a complete blowout for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and this actually was a close game in the first half. As you could see, going into halftime, he was only up 7-0. So things just spiraled out of control for him there in the second half.
And so, of course, your prediction was right with the Kansas City Chiefs coming out on top.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, obviously you can see Chiefs led in like everything yardage wise, but he actually didn't have that many yards. 222 is not that much for a full game.
In the player stats, yeah, because look at this player stats. Pat Mahomes leading the Chiefs 64 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times, and Case Keenum 22 yards and 3 interceptions, sacked 2 times for the Arizona Cardinals. I wonder. Okay, it says negative 11 yards for the Cardinals in passing, but Case Keenum had 22 and Nate Peterman only had negative 4 yards.
Yeah, and we did get a comment. This was from the Bucks and Saints game. He said Bucks had a bad fourth quarter. That's why it looked close. And that was from Juice Baked the Patriots. He said he watched the stream.
Oh, owner of the Patriots. Thank you for giving us that info. Sometimes, guys, we do not watch y'all's games, or I don't. Sometimes we get busy and stuff.
Yeah.
So if we miss your games, we don't know the full story. We're sorry. We're trying to get more involved in watching y'all's games.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, you can see stats in a game and you'd think it went one way, but it went like a completely different way. But usually stats are a pretty good teller of how the game went.
Except for fumble recoveries.
Yeah, yeah, don't count on fumble recoveries being right. Alright, so
rushing. I still want to know where the negative 11 passing yards came from, if it was 22 and negative 4.
It's the sacks. When you get sacked, they subtract passing yards. I'm not sure if they do it in real life or not, but
rushing though. I would think that would count as rushing, because if you sack them,
well, nah, because they're not, like, they haven't established themselves as a running back, so, like, or they're not rushing the ball.
Yeah. So All right, we go to rushing, and really not bad for either side for actual rushing.
Yeah, as you can see, Latavius Murray had 17 attempts for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And David Johnson, 17 attempts for 88 yards and no touchdowns. 5.2 average for Johnson and a 7.1 for Murray. I mean, that's pretty good on the ground for Latavius Murray, too. He's been using him pretty well this season.
In the receiving game, not going to be very much, but Tyreek Hill leading the Kansas City Chiefs with 3 receptions, 24 yards, and John Brown with one reception, 13 yards for the Cardinals. Oh God!
I don't know why it switched me to the Cardinals. I don't know why, but yeah, nothing there for receiving. Yeah, a lot of sacks in this game.
Can someone? Oh, hang on. In college, they take rushing yards away for sacks. NFL takes passing yards away for sacks. Weird rule. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because college takes away for rushing and NFL's for passing. But it makes sense either way. Do whatever way they want to.
Alright, though, for sacks, you see a bunch of players with 1. I don't think we need to go through all those names, but...
Nah, just scroll down and let him see it.
Yeah.
In interceptions, though, Ron Parker, again with the negative
Jesus.
Like, it's... okay, Matt needs to fix this glitch, because if you see, it's the longest interception of 32 yards, but does that mean in the other one they went negative... like 100 and something yards?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they would have had to go negative to get negative 88, and if their longest was 32,
negative 100.
They would have had to go 110, 50. No, yeah, 110. And then that's impossible.
No, I'd be 120. Sorry.
Yeah.
But as you can see, Marcus Peters had a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Buda Baker, C.J. Mosley having for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and then you see there was a forced fumble by Marcus Golden. It does show a fumble recovery too, actually, by C.J. Mosley. And then there was the one pick 6 we talked about by Marcus Peters. Other than that, there were no defensive touchdowns. Nothing in kick return, nothing in punt return.
Alright, congratulations to the Chiefs, though. Good luck to the rest of your season for both of you. And we go into Arthorpe, who last season had a rough start, but this season I think he's doing really well for himself.
Yeah, I agree. He's honestly, like, record-wise hasn't gotten off to the best start, but he's still played pretty well.
Especially if you look at the opponents he's faced, I think he's done really well for himself.
Yeah.
But, of course, in all, Miami led in total yards, but no rushing game, which is a very big surprise. Arthorpe has come in and stopped so many users who have had really great rushing games, and he has just completely took away that.
Yeah. This game right here was, the yardage wise, doesn't look bad at all, and even only a two turnover difference, so the score is a little bigger than you would think looking at these stats. But as you can see, 4 turnovers by the Dolphins, only 2 by the Lions, so those turnovers were probably all for points. Maybe not in the return, but like it got them a good return, and then they were able to put points up on the board.
In the passing game, strong arm Stafford, 158 yards of touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 6 times. Dak Prescott, 267 yards of touchdown, 4 interceptions, sacked 5 times. Has not had a good season last year or this year for Dak.
No, not at all. Wow. So going into the rushing game, as you could see, J.J. 23 attempts for 43 yards, a 1.9 average. That's crazy. And for Amir Abdullah, almost the opposite. 15 attempts, 104 yards, 6.9 average per carry. and 1 rushing touchdown. He did have a fumble though, but a pretty good game from Abdullah.
Oh yeah, and like I said, he's come in and stopped some of the major rushers in this league from being able to stay on the ground.
Yeah.
In receiving though, Deshaun Royals actually was rookie of the or not rookie
Player of the week.
Player of the week not too long ago. 7 receptions,
Yeah.
105 yards for the
And
Dolphins.
yeah, doing the podcast season this year, reviewing the Dolphins, this is a name we see a lot from him leading receiving. So even
Deshaun Royals.
yeah, even after throwing all those interceptions, he still finds a way to get it to Deshaun Royals. So it looks like he's going to be big for him.
Or Nash Fox, the tight end. It's either Royals or Fox that you see on the top of that list for the Dolphins. But Eric Ebron, one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. 4 receptions, 63 yards for Detroit.
Yeah, he is pretty underrated.
All right, we go to defensive. Oh my lord.
Yeah, a lot of sacks.
Long list of sacks.
As you can see, the leader for the entire game and from the Dolphins was Ndamukong Suh, and he had 2.5 sacks. And then we see a bunch of people with 1 sack and 1 person with a half a sack. But moving over to interceptions, you see Glover Quinn led the game with 3, and then Gerard Davis and Simon Gallon Gallion. I don't know how to do. Gallion.
I would say Gallion.
That makes sense. 1 interception there. I said Gallon.
I'm gonna have to go in and say new member of the Dolphin, Gaylord. Change the name of this podcast.
Yeah.
Alright, forced fumbles though. There was one by Rashad Jones. Some of these recoveries. Yeah. Dawson DeGreat.
Oh god.
Rookie. Yeah, DeGreat. Rookie out of UCF. Any touchdowns? Yes, we do. Glover Quinn, one of those pick sixes, turning into a defensive touchdown. And kick return or punt returns?
Nope, nothing there.
Alright.
Okay, so
congratulations to Lions.
yeah, this next game is something else here. A huge game from the Steelers, and I mean, it's at first watching the game I was like, well, it was only that big because of the turnovers, but I didn't realize how many offensive yards he racked up too. He had 330 rush yards. That is crazy. Like 563 yards of total offense, and he got 8 turnovers. He got 8 takeaways from the Panthers in that too.
Yeah, it was a big game for him.
Yeah.
Passing, he did really well in this game with 233 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked 0 times for Big Ben, and that's something to say when you get sacked no times.
Yeah.
And for the Panthers, Stephen Young, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked 4 times.
No, it was 2 interceptions, but.
Oh, 2 interceptions, sacked 4 times. In the rushing, this is where it came in. Like,
wow. 31 attempts, 319 yards, and 5 touchdowns for Le'Veon Bell. And Christian McCaffrey, who's been a big guy for the Panthers, was really shut down. 12 attempts for 44 yards and a 3.7 average, but usually he's over 100.
Le'Veon Bell, though, had a great game in the receiving game, though. Top receiver for Pittsburgh was Martavis Bryant, 4 receptions, 181 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And for Carolina, it was Devin Funchess, 4 receptions, 86 yards. That's a crazy game for both Le'Veon Bell and Martavis Bryant.
Yeah. And alright, so moving on over to the defense, checking out the stats. There were a decent amount of stats in this game, but they only came from the same 4 players. Stephon Tuitt and Bud Dupree each with 2.5, and they led the Steelers. And nobody from the Panthers got a sack, or probably didn't even get quarterback pressure, it looks like.
In interceptions, Mike Mitchell, William Gay, Ross Cockrell, and Ryan Shazier all having one, and Luke Kuechly with the lone interception for, yeah, the lone interception for the Panthers.
Yeah. But as you
Wow.
can see, going over to forced fumbles, Mike Mitchell and Bud Dupree each having 2. And it looks like the Steelers recovered all 4 of those fumbles, so that
It
was
looks
pretty
like Bud
big.
Dupree recovered both of his own.
Yeah.
Wow, and for touchdowns, there was 2, Artie Burns and Ross Cockrell, both having defensive touchdowns. It looks like the forced fumble or the fumble recovered by Artie Burns got him
Yeah, it looked like a fumble 6. But anyways, good job to the Steelers coming in this league. I think this was his second game, making a big statement win.
oh yeah.
Good luck to him remainder of the season. Also, good luck to the Panthers. I think that was, I mean, this was an off game for him, but we still know his potential. We still know how he can play. So, I mean, I expect him to turn around from this.
In the next game, same thing.
Another blowout.
Pretty much 76-6. That's just 434 total yards, 350 rushing yards. Only 1 turnover to 6. This oof, big game for the Cleveland Browns in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, going into passing, Deshaun Kaiser did throw 2 touchdowns, but only 84 yards, and he did have the interception, but he didn't need to pass with how good the run game was. But before we get there, Joe Flacco had 81 yards and 5 interceptions and was sacked 9 times.
Lord, probably that D line that the Browns now hold. In rushing though, Isaiah Crowell with 25 attempts with 318 yards, 12.7 average and 3 touchdowns. And for Baltimore, Danny Wood had 5 attempts for 30 yards and 6 average. Not bad, but it just doesn't look like he got anything really going. And it looked like Isaiah Crowell just ran all over the Baltimore defense.
Yeah, that's how it was. But anyways, going into receiving, as we know, there wasn't going to be much here, but 1 reception for 59 yards and a touchdown for Mike Ohalete, the rookie receiver out of Texas A&M. And then leading the Ravens was Ladarius Green, 3 receptions, 39 yards.
In defense, though, the sacks, leading sack was Myles Garrett, who had the most sacks with 33 last season.
Something like that.
Now still coming in 3. And next after him is the rookie linebacker Easton McGarity with 2 for Michigan State. So he's got pass rushes for days.
Yeah.
This team.
Alright, so interceptions, you see the leading interceptor from the game was Jamarcus Hall from the Browns, 2 interceptions. And then Jonathan Jones, Jordan Willis, and Jabril Peppers each having 1. And then for the Ravens, Tony Jefferson with 1 as well.
Villanova, another college that is just really not known. So
They're known for basketball, but not really football.
Yeah. For forced fumbles, Jamie Collins and Jonathan Jones each having forced fumble recovers, only 1 by Jason McCourty.
Defensive touchdowns, though, 3 in the game. All 3 coming from the Browns. You got Jason McCourty, Jonathan Jones, and Jamarcus Hale.
Kick return or punt return, neither. Congratulations to the Browns, a big win. A big division game win, too.
Yeah. Alright. So the next one we got here is the Cowboys and the Jaguars. And this one wasn't as much of a blowout as the other 2, but I would probably still count this as a blowout.
Both turning over the ball 4 times though in this game. Really not a separation in total yards.
No,
but
not really.
All in all, Cowboys were more well-rounded in passing and rushing, while the Jags just passing the ball.
Yeah, but going into passing, you see Cameron Wolf, the rookie out of Wisconsin. He had 286 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. And then Alex Smith, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and sacked 5 times.
Oh, Lord. In the rushing game, Ezekiel Elliott, 23 attempts, 150 yards, 6.5 average, and 3 touchdowns. And for Jacksonville was Leonard Fournette, who has not had any good week.
No,
18 attempts, 23 yards, a 1.3 average, 1 touchdown, and 1 fumble.
he really hasn't been able to get the run game going with Fournette. I think Fournette had like one good game this year, but other than that, hasn't had much. Alright, but going into receiving, you see a couple receivers from the Jags doing pretty well. Tyrell Williams, 5 receptions, 152 yards, and a touchdown. And leading from the Cowboys was Xander Razik, 3 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown.
Not a bad game for a rookie like him.
Not at all.
In sacks, though, Calais Campbell with 2 sacks for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and for Dallas, this lone sack by Taco Charlton. Which I wish he would play better in real life.
Alright, so interceptions. You see Miles Jack and Jalen Ramsey from the Jags each having 1, and then Jalen Smith, Devron Benjamin, Chidobe Awuzie, and that was it from the Cowboys. They all 3 had 1 interception.
And forced fumbles, Jalen Ramsey, DeJuan Smoot, and Aaron Williams all having a forced fumble recovery by Miles Jack, Dante Fowler Jr., and Anthony Brown.
And as you can see, there was a defensive touchdown from each team in this one. Miles Jack, that could have been the fumble recovery, or yeah, it was probably the fumble recovery. And then
69 yards.
yeah.
And then the 96-yard pick 6. Kick return, punt return, either. Congratulations to the Cowboys. Good luck to both of y'all in the rest of the seasons. Next one. Oh my. Bears only getting 2 points against the 49ers.
And he actually led in yards gained too, but he did have the 6 turnovers and Debo had none. Yeah. So
player stats though: C.J. Beathard, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, sacked once. And Mitchell Trubisky, 227 yards, 6 interceptions, sacked 3 times. It looks like he was trying to force the ball way too many times in this game.
Yeah. Going into rushing, you see Joe Williams, 16 attempts, 68 yards, 4.3 average. And Jeremy Langford, 16 attempts for 50 yards and 3.1 average.
Which is, I guess you can say he did really well on the ground, stopping the ground game by Joe Williams, but it didn't help him at all.
Not really.
In receiving though, leading receiver Damon Daniel, rookie out of UCLA, 6 receptions, 111 yards. And of course, Kenny Galladay with 3 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the 49ers.
Alright, going over to defense, we got sacks. Leading with the 49ers was DeForest Buckner, he had 2. And then Quentin Demps with the lone sack man from the Bears, he had 1.
And interceptions, Barry Wade, rookie out of Texas, had 2 interceptions. Eric Reed with 1. Tooney Banks, another rookie out of Texas. Aaron Lynch and Akello Witherspoon with 1.
Yeah, and every time I see that name, Tooney Banks, it makes me a little mad because I was like 3 picks behind Debo, and that's who I was going to take with my pick if he didn't take him. But as you can see, he's playing pretty well with him. So.
Oh, he's got the duo from Texas. Knowing how they knew how they played with each other and they come into the league going on the same
Yep.
team.
Yeah, Barry Wade and Tooney Banks both playing pretty well.
Lone forced fumble by Chandler Kane, rookie out of San Diego State. Any forced fumble recoveries? None. Of course not. We're
Yep.
not lucky for that.
And then as you can see, the 49ers also had 2 defensive touchdowns. Barry Wade with the pick 6 and Eric Reed with the pick 6.
Punt return or kick returns, neither, but congratulations to the 49ers for another win. Good luck to both of y'all. Oh, who do we have next? A new owner. Wade should have had 2. Oh, he's saying Wade should have had 2 in that game. Thank you, Devo. But that's Wade should have had 2. Hang on. This man. Barry Wade. What do you mean? Oh, he should have had 2 pick 6s. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Should have had 2. But we come to the Minnesota Vikings and Los Angeles Rams. This is a new Vikings owner, and he's come in to make a statement. 49-3 against the Rams.
Yeah, and it looks like he likes scoring in the second and the fourth quarter because he didn't do much in the first or the third. But
Always the last quarter.
yeah, right before the deadline. But as you can see, 7 turnovers by the Rams, only 3 by the Vikings. So he won that turnover battle, which was probably a big part of it.
It always is, man. You win based off of the least amount of turnovers.
Yeah, it really seems like that. Unless you both have 0 turnover, like the same amount of turnovers, but it's even really like that in real life. Like usually whoever wins the turnover battle most of the time wins the game. Obviously there's exceptions, but
yeah. In the passing game though, Teddy Bridgewater, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked twice. Jared Goff, 114 yards, 5 interceptions, 4 sacks.
alright, then going over to the rushing game, you see Dalvin Cook, 27 attempts, 157 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then leading rusher from the Rams was Jared Goff, 3 attempts, 40 yards, and 2 fumbles.
I will say this. Do you remember back in ComboLG, Madden 17, guys, if y'all were with us in the podcast, when the Browns changed his name to Dalvin Glasney?
Glasney's, yeah.
Got injured.
Yeah.
Dalvin Glasney, and I have not seen him get injured once in Madden 18.
But he did get hurt in real life. Let's not forget about that, though.
Yeah. Complete ACL tear.
Yep, and it was in the knee, Dalvin Glasney's.
In the receiver. Looks like our old Browns user in Madden 17 was right about Dalvin. But in the receiving game, Gerald Everett for the Rams, 3 receptions, 91 yards. And for Minnesota's Kyle Rudolph, 3 receptions and 48 yards.
Yeah, not much there. But, alright, so going over to defense. Sacks. You see Anthony Barr was the leading sack man from the Vikings. 2 sacks, and then Alec Ogletree and Michael Brockers each tied from the Rams with 1.
In interceptions, Ben Gideon with 2 interceptions, and Andrew Sandejo with 2 interceptions for the Minnesota Vikings. And for the Rams was Maurice Alexander and Jimmy Ward.
Let's check out forced fumbles. You see 4 forced fumbles, 3 from the Vikings, 1 from the Rams. It was Ben Gedeon, Everson Griffin, and Tyron Rose. And then from the Rams, it was Michael Brockers. And it actually does show 3 fumble recoveries, 2 by Sharif Floyd and 1 by Eli Harold from the Rams.
And defensive touchdowns, we have 1 by Ben Gideon. So he had a really good game.
Yep, and then we see nothing in kick return, nothing in punt return. So,
Congratulations to the new Vikings owner,
yeah,
Rodriguez.
and that was a nice welcome to the league.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so
then,
going on to the next one, you see a division matchup here. The Patriots against the Bills. And as you can see, the Patriots were able to pull this one out, giving the Bills his second straight loss.
oh man, look at the Bills rushing.
Yeah, that hurts.
I think that's the smallest rushing I've ever seen by the Bills.
Yeah, he thrives off the rush game too. He's like a couple users in this league that thrive off the rush game. And as you can see, 27 yards. That might be a big reason why he only put up 7 points in this game.
Yeah, and the Patriots owned the ball for 21 minutes while the Bills only owned it for 6 minutes. Almost 7 minutes. Taking off for 7 minutes, but...
And as you can see, 4 turnovers for the Bills and only 1 by the Patriots too.
In passing, Tom Brady 211 yards, 1 touchdown, sacked 4 times. Tyrod Taylor 93 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked 5 times. And if we look at the box score, yeah, maybe because he was trying to catch up in the end there.
Yeah, and then so going over to the rushing game, you see Keith Marshall leading the Patriots, 22 attempts, 105 yards, and he did have a fumble. And then Tyrod Taylor leading the Bills, 2 attempts, 13 yards, but we know Shady McCoy is still hurt, so he is going with the backup, Elijah McGuire, and he was just not able to get the run game going there.
Oh, it says that Sean McCoy had 1 rush, 1 attempt for no yards.
Huh. That's
like
weird.
He might have brought him back early.
Yeah, it's possible.
In the receiving game, though, leading receiver was Brandon Cooks, 6 receptions for 90 yards, and Elijah McGuire, 2 receptions for 37 yards for the Bills.
Going over to the defensive side, we see sacks. Coney Ely led the Patriots, 2 sacks from him, and then Shaq Lawson and Marcel Darius, also Deion Buchanan, oh, and another one, Steve Nelson, all tied with 1 from the Bills.
In interceptions, though, Bobby Worsley, rookie out of Ole Miss, with 2 interceptions. Looks like a good game for him.
Yep. And then you see 2 forced fumbles by Deion Buchanan, and then 1 from Devin McCourty and Malcolm Butler. And fumble recovery. Got 3.
3 out of 4, but Darrell Revis, Stephon Gilmore, and Trey Flowers all having fumble recoveries.
Yep. And then no defensive touchdowns. That's, well, never mind. I was going to say that's a little surprising, but because I did see the 60 yards for that for the 2 interceptions, but they were both for 30 yards.
I found the lone touchdown for the Buffalo Bills.
Wow. Yeah, that really just tells you he couldn't get much going, because his only touchdown came off of special teams.
Well,
but
congratulations to the Patriots for the win, and good luck.
Yeah, But yeah, he took a tough loss here. The Bills did, but also it was against a division opponent, so you know, like, they play pretty well against each other. But I think the Bills are gonna bounce back from this one too.
Oh yeah. In the last game of Week 6 that we're going over is Redskins versus Texans, 49-17.
Yeah.
Really, the Redskins really didn't do too bad. 4
And
turnovers is more than 3, but you know,
yeah,
it really didn't have a bad game on paper.
Yeah, I mean, stat-wise, you see these stats and you'd think it'd be a little closer than the score showed, but as you could see, Houston had 28 points in the 4th quarter, so that's probably was, yeah. But before he had that 28, it looked like it was a pretty close game.
Player stats, Deshaun Watson with 201 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times. Kirk Cousins, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 4 times. And it's not surprising to see maybe he had to throw the ball a lot faster, especially with that. You got Whitney Merciless, Davion Clowney, J.J. Watt, the
Yeah.
big three for the Texans. I have to say the biggest pass rushers in the league, in real life and in the game.
Yeah. But going into rushing, you see Lamar Miller, 19 attempts, 166 yards, 5 touchdowns. That was a really good game from him.
Yeah.
Then Ty Montgomery, 20 attempts, 107 yards, and he did have a fumble.
Not a bad game if he had just not had that fumble, even without the touchdown. It's not a bad game on the rushing end of the
No.
ball for Ty.
But
In the receiving game, though, leading receiver was Terrell Pryor Sr. with 2 receptions, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Not bad. And Will Fuller, the fifth, 2 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. You know, not 7 years in the league, a veteran, and he's still playing well, in my opinion, for Terrell Pryor.
yeah. Alright, so going into the defensive side, you see J.J. Watt leading sacks from the Texans with 2. And then he was the only one of the big 3 who got a sack in this one.
I don't know.
You see Jadeveon Clowney and Whitney Merciless both were, it looked like, blocked pretty well. Whitney Merciless had a tackle for a loss, but other than that, they really didn't do much causing disruption in the backfield.
If I have to think, though, both Whitney Merciless and Jadeveon Clowney are both on the side, if I remember, with Trent Williams, who is a very good left tackle.
Yeah, he is.
Probably had really good blocking over there for him.
Yeah, but anyways, going into the interceptions, you see Deshaun Shedd, Benardrick McKinney, C.O. Moore, Jonathan Joseph, and DJ Swearinger each coming in with 1 interception.
Forced fumbles, we do have a few. C.O. Moore, DJ Swearinger, and Ryan Anderson all having a forced fumble. Fumble recoveries, there were 2 for Trenton Murphy and Kevin Johnson.
Yep. And then you do see there was a defensive touchdown by C.O. Moore.
And kick return, punt return, neither. Congratulations to the Texans. Good luck to both of y'all. There's a long season ahead of everybody in this league.
Yeah, and yeah. So there you have it, the Week 6 recap. It was a pretty good week. There were a couple blowouts, but I'd say overall it was a pretty good week.
Always. Y'all have all been a great audience, but we come to the time of who is the game of the week. Y'all all love this. Y'all all want to be a part of this or be the game of the week. We'll get to y'all. Everybody's gonna get their shot. Maybe you're not in season 2. Maybe you're in season 3. Maybe you're in season 1, but not season 2. Everybody's gonna get a shot. I will tell y'all this. I am starting to do guest stars. And after this, there will be a video going up of our first guest star. Y'all might not know, but I will come in randomly, ask y'all to join me in a party. Maybe me and Lima be there, maybe it's just me, and I will ask y'all to be a guest star, so look out for that. But of course, Week 7 game of the week is the Giants at the Cowboys. Now, why is this game of the week? Because the Real Prophet last season led that division with no contest at all. This season he is number 2 with the Future being an undefeated team and leading the division now. Now, last season the Real Prophet did beat the Future both times in division games. Limo, do you think the same thing's gonna happen this season? Do you think Prophet's just gonna beat the Future both times they play?
I don't know about both times, but I think he does have it this time. He's a little, I mean, I know it's still early, but I think he's a little shocked that he doesn't have the division right now, but so he's going to go out there and fight for it. But good start off for the Giants here, and I think the Cowboys kind of wants to give him a little spoil. So I think the Cowboys is going to go in there and get this one done.
Oh yeah. I don't know. if we're talking about the Giants and the Cowboys are known for his rushing game. The Giants' defense is pretty locked up this season. The stopping rushing games. He's done better with not having Eli Manning as his main quarterback. He
Yeah,
hasn't
he
thrown as many
has.
interceptions. He hasn't made as many mistakes as he did last season. I think the Giants have this game. I know the Cowboys are out for blood. They're trying to get this win to take over the division, but I think the Giants are taking this game. But we always got to decide which side of the ball is this game going to come off. Is it going to come off the offensive, defensive? Which positions is going to take the side of the ball?
I think it's probably, I mean, obviously turnovers, but just ignoring turnovers, probably the better run game here. If the Giants can stop the Cowboys' run game, I see him having a chance, but, I mean, like, and he has been able to stop the run this season, so if he gets more of that, he does have a chance, but I still see the Cowboys outrunning him in this one.
You're right. The Giants have to stop the run game, and the Cowboys have to stop the passing game, and they got to try to force as many turnovers on each other as possible. And that's how this game goes. You try to force as many as possible while having so many less. So, guys, of course, if y'all are new to this, of course, in the comments section below, you tell us who you think is the game of the week. Of course, we go through, show you every game that's going to happen this week. Y'all get to pick y'all's own game of the week, tell us why. Or you can go with what ours is and tell us which side do you think is going to win this. Or is it, maybe you think it's the same team we do, maybe you think it's the other side of the ball. But we come down to the last section of board over somebody else. And
Yeah.
you know, it's actually what should be there. Dalvin Cook, Glover Quinn, Le'Veon Bell, and Bud Dupree. All having really good games, and I think they deserved it.
Well, it's kind of funny. AFC offensive side of the ball, we saw two running backs with really high rushing yards in this one. So if you're the Browns and he played his game and had that many rush yards and that many touchdowns with Crowell, he's probably thinking, offensive player of the week is Crowell, is no doubt about it. And then you see Le'Veon Bell go out there and put those numbers up. So that was pretty interesting this week.
Yeah, either Crowell or Le'Veon Bell could have deserved this weekly award, and it came down to the game deciding. But Bud Dupree and Glover Quinn on the defensive side of the ball, both having really good games, and of course Dalvin Cook for the NFC offense, who's having a really good game himself. Maybe not as much as to the AFC, but he still put up 157 yards, and he put up 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, so good job to the players of the week there.
Yeah, congratulations to everybody who won in week 6. Good luck in week 7. It just gets harder from here on out for people trying to get ahead in their division, coming back from a losing start, trying to change their game around in the second half of the season, which of course is in week 9 is when the halfway mark is. So congratulations to everybody. Good luck to everybody, because it just gets harder from here on out. Of course, if you are new or a returner, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to know when we stream or put up a video, and hit that like button. We're still trying to hit 10 likes, because we know y'all love it. Y'all keep coming back. We see the views. We see the people who watch all the way through. Just hit that like button for us, guys. But of course, I'm your host, Avengers. Alongside us is our other host, Lima.
Great to do another podcast. And real quick before we go, 3 undefeated teams left. Let's see if any of them go down this week.
Oh yeah, 3, which is
Giants, Falcons, and Raiders. I do have a bye week, so obviously I'll still be undefeated after this week, but Falcons and Giants both play.
Oh yeah, Falcons and Giants.
But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.